So my fifth grade teacher was, one of the best teachers I've ever had. And they were in many ways a lot like all other fifth grade teachers, really. They came up with new and interesting words each week to put on our spelling tests. We took these multiplication table quizzes each week, just like you would. The desk up front was always stocked with candy and, other things like that as rewards for good behavior or academic achievement. And my memories of this time in my life were, warm, nurturing, things like that. This teacher even set up an after-school math club for some of us. If we wanted to stick around for an hour or so after school, we could learn some advanced math and critical thinking skills. And so I'm sure all of you have some picture of what my teacher looked like. But I want you to imagine a 6'3" black man, broad shoulders, someone who you'd think would probably be more at home on a football field than in a classroom. And that was Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis was somewhat of a living contradiction. He was our all-time quarterback at recess. He would sling the ball downfield 50 yards to a gaggle of 10-year-olds. But like I said, this same man also put forth a ton of extra effort for a few of us students to learn some advanced math. There was one time where my mom and my little sister Chloe, who was 4 at the time, came in to pick me up for, an appointment, doctor's appointment or something like that. And Mr. Davis wanted to give her some candy. And my poor little sister was so scared of him that she hid behind my mom's leg. He had this real big, imposing stature, but he was, one of the kindest, most jovial men I've ever met. And now, these days when I think about it, having a black man like that as my fifth grade teacher was a bit of an anomaly, especially here in Ann Arbor, white, affluent area. But at the time, I didn't know that. He was just Mr. Davis. He was just my teacher. Later in life, I would learn about, the stereotype of the angry black man. And I was shocked. I couldn't really even conceive of the fact that society might view someone like my teacher in that way. So really, when I think about that further, that kind of shaped my social perspectives going forward. Black men, they were teachers. They were in nurturing careers and, traditionally pink-collar roles. It never really occurred to me otherwise. Now, I've thought about this because I've been doing more research lately on my future career as a teacher. I've gone into, educator spaces online. And one of the things I've seen a lot from social media, things like that, is how do I get through to the boys? The boys are whatever, I can't figure them out. And one of the biggest things that was concerning to me was the popularity of supposed self-improvement influencers like Andrew Tate. If you don't know Andrew Tate, he is a supposed male self-improvement role model type of influencer. But really, he gives all these platitudes about, hard work. He's quoted as saying, find someone who is as successful as you'd like to be, ask them how to do it, and then work hard. But he spouts all those things and then turns around with these, pretty explicit admissions of violent misogyny. Like he once said, he's not a rapist, but he just likes the idea of being able to do what he wants, which is concerning. So obviously in my view of masculinity, grifters like Andrew Tate receive a very low score. But I think, how can we show the other perspective? And so for that, I want to step back in time again to my 10th grade English class. Mr. Peterson was, in a lot of ways, the opposite of Mr. Davis. He was a short, white guy. He had this curly brown hair that sometimes seemed like he'd never met a comb in his life. But he had that same kind of, out there energy and that caring nature that Mr. Davis had. For instance, he set up his desks in his classroom in a spiral, this little blocky kind of rectangular spiral, and he stood right in the middle, making himself the literal center of attention. He also taught a little strangely as well. His center of our coming of age piece was Britney Spears' I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman. Everything surrounded that. And the reason that he was so great was he really made you feel seen. He talked to you, he listened. When he responded to you, there was a little pause beforehand, and you really got the sense that he had really thought about what you had told him before he responded. He was also the lead of the newspaper club at my high school, which I was a part of, and he was very hands-off. He said, this is a student organization, this is run by you guys, and his confidence in us to run a successful newspaper really also boosted my self-confidence. But I'm not here just to talk about my past and tell stories about my teachers. What I think about is, what's the bigger meaning of this? So I did a little bit of research. I found that in 2005, Yale did a study that found that boys were expelled from pre-K programs at 4.5 times the rate of girls, which that's pre-K. They don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be learning how to become part of a classroom. And it continues on. In 2021, girls were seen to be graduating from high school at about 88.4% rate, and boys at an 81.9% rate. And this was concerning enough that in 2020, the APA actually announced a task force on boys in school. And this doesn't just stop at school either. They get into adulthood. There was a survey in 1990 from Getty's about various social things about people in general. In 1990, 55% of men had 6 or more close friends. In 2021, it was found that only 27% had that number. And in that same time, the number who reported to have 0 close friends went from 3% to 15%. So, what is the answer to all this? Obviously, something isn't working. So, what I say is we need to become those people. We need to become Mr. Davis. We need to become Mr. Peterson. We need to, portray ourselves as the antithesis to, the Andrew Tates of the world. And we need to kind of step outside of the nuclear family structure as well. I'm sure there are many men in the audience who know a cousin, a nephew, a neighbor, something like that you can really form a connection with. Be that person in their lives. And this isn't just for men, dads too, moms as well are very involved. We want you to make sure that you really pay attention to the relationships in your son's lives, their coaches, teachers, things like that. And encourage the ones that you think will be helpful for them in life. I really didn't know that when I was entering my 10th grade classroom that I was going to be meeting one of my biggest inspirations in life, nor did I really know that masculinity is a little less machismo and a little more Britney. Thank you.